Today we're going to be making one of my favorite things to bake, especially in the wintertime, and that is some ciabatta bread. And actually I'm making a special type of ciabatta bread. We're making honey oat ciabatta bread, and it does require several steps. So we're going to be doing step 1 today, and then we will pick it up again tomorrow for step 2, because it does require a little bit of time for all the ingredients to activate. But it's actually a very easy bread, and I think everybody should try this at least once, okay? So first of all, let me show you, we are going to be baking it. When it's all ready, we'll be baking it in our deep covered baker from Pampered Chef, and it is an amazing stoneware dish with a lid that keeps all the heat inside, and you can bake up some beautiful, beautiful bread inside that pot, besides using it for lots of other things. But let's get started with our ingredients. I'm just going to tilt you down here so you can watch what I'm doing. We're going to start off with 3 cups of flour. Now, the recipe says to use bread flour. I have made this recipe many times. I've used bread flour and I've used all-purpose, so either one is totally okay to use. All right, then we're going to add our cup of oats. This is just some old-fashioned oats, like oatmeal. Then we have some other dry ingredients. We're going to add a teaspoon and a half of salt. And then we are going to add our yeast. Now, this is the fast rise or the quick yeast, and we're going to put a half a teaspoon of our yeast in. And then we're going to take just the end, or I'm going to use one of my little scraper things here, and just mix our dry ingredients together before we add anything else. Just to get a little, make sure that yeast is incorporated through the whole mixture. Then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of honey. We're just going to pop that out there, and I'll scrape this off. All right, then we're going to add our water. And I kind of like to make a little hole, kind of a little well in the middle, and I add part of it, and then I start mixing. And sort of pull the dry ingredients down into your wet. Let's add a little more. But this is 14 ounces of just regular water, tap water. And you can see how the dough is already starting to come together. We're going to add the rest of that water in. And then once we get this all mixed up, this dough I'm going to cover the bowl with a towel, and it will sit on my counter for at least 8 hours. So that means in the morning, it'll probably get a good 12 hours of rising, but this is all the effort that really has to go into it, just mixing these, and then you let it sit until you are ready for step 2. And that is a very quick one, and we will look at that tomorrow after we come back and see how our dough has progressed at that point. All right, that looks like that's pretty well mixed. I just sort of scrape everything down off the sides. And then we're going to take, I have just a thin kitchen towel. I'll get this off here, that we will cover it with. And then it's going to go sit right over here on my counter till tomorrow, and then we'll come back and we'll do step 2 on our honey oat ciabatta bread tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Good morning. It's time for step 2 of our honey oat ciabatta bread, and I'm so excited to show you how well it did overnight. Now, it's probably been about 15-16 hours since we mixed it up yesterday. But let me just show you how nice and it's bubbly on the top, and that tells you that it's ready. You can see the little bubbles in the bottom. So we're just going to take our pastry mat that I have here in front of me. Now you can just do it on your counter, on a piece of parchment paper, whatever you have. Sometimes just do this on my counter if you have granite or hard countertops that you can do that on. All right, so we're going to just put a little flour on there, and then we're going to scrape our bread dough out. And notice it's going to kind of collapse down a little bit, and that's perfectly normal. And we're just going to scrape this out right into the center of our flour. There we go. And what we're going to do, we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of flour on top to make it manageable and get some flour on our hands. And I like to take, if you have a scraper, this is our bench scraper, I like to just take that to help you kind of turn it over into itself, fold it over a couple of times and pat it. We're not really going to knead this dough like you do sometimes. We're just going to fold it over into itself 2 or 3 times to make it nice and round and soft. And there is our bread loaf now. And the next step, of course, is going to be to let it rise a little bit more for another hour and a half. And let me show you how I like to do that. Let me grab something over here. I like to, just for ease in putting it into my deep covered baker that we're going to be using, I like to just plop it into a small skillet, and I usually spritz just a little bit of oil. Let me get this pumped up here. I like to spritz a little oil in there. That helps it to come out, even though it is non-stick. It comes out pretty easy. And we're just going to spritz a little bit of oil in the bottom. And then we're going to take our dough and gently plop it right into the skillet. Then I'm going to cover it again with my towel. And it's going to sit for about an hour and a half. And then it'll be ready to bake. In the meantime, just to keep me on track, I will set my timer on the oven for an hour. When in an hour's time it will beep, then it will tell me that it's time to put my deep covered baker into the oven and let it preheat for about 30 minutes at 425. And so then we'll be ready to plop that dough right into the preheated baker and let it bake for about 30 minutes. So step 3, you'll get to see how I do that. So I will see you soon. Hello, welcome back to our final step of baking our honey oat ciabatta bread. And I've got my baker out of the oven. It preheated in the 425 degree oven for 30 minutes. So we're going to take the lid off and be very careful when you do this. You notice the steam coming out of there. So this baker is ready to go with our ciabatta bread. Now let's uncover and notice it has risen again. Isn't that beautiful? Look at this loaf of bread. So I'm just going to take a little scraper here and we're just going to notice how easy it comes out because we oiled our pan. It's just going to drop right in. And it's sizzling, and I'm going to take just a little bit of oats and scatter right on the top. And then we're going to replace our lid on here. And it's going to go right back into our 425 degree oven for 30 minutes. When it comes out, it's going to be golden brown and ready to eat if we can just wait till it cools. But anyway, I hope you'll give this recipe a try. It's such a rewarding thing, and the bread is absolutely delicious. If you don't care for the honey or the oats, you can just make plain ciabatta bread, or you can substitute about a cup of shredded cheddar cheese and make cheese bread. There's so many variations of this, and I really hope that you'll reach out to me and if you have any questions that I can help you with. So anyway, have a wonderful day and happy baking.